Are you ready to think big and act bold? Then you are in the right place. This is Innovative Entrepreneurs, a podcast that will bring you the stories, insights, and tips from some of the most successful and innovative entrepreneurs in the world. I am your host, Erica Bailey, and I am here to help you start, scale, and sustain your own entrepreneurial journey. Let's get started. Today, we have a special guest. His name is Dr. Eric Holsapple. He is a developer and entrepreneur and the author of Profit with Presence, the 12 Pillars of Mindset Leadership. You know I'm going to love this episode. He is also the founder of Living in the Gap, a website that offers mindfulness programs for business professionals and leaders. Dr. Eric will share his story of how he became a mindful leader, his tips on how to profit with presence, and his advice on how to practice mindset in everyday life. Thank you, Dr. Eric. Do you mind if I call you Dr. Eric?
No, whatever works, Eric.
All right.
Whatever works. Thanks for having me, Erica.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm very excited to have you here. So I do have a couple of questions. I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff. I've been listening to your podcast all morning. I got your book, and we'll make sure the link to everything is in the show notes. I'm really excited to listen to that because I truly believe in what you are doing and how you are building this idea of mindset and into businesses and their success. So I'd like to know what sparked your interest in mindfulness in the beginning, or, how did this start for you?
Desperation. I came out in the mid 80s sometime with an MBA and went into real estate and was immediately successful.
Okay.
Years later, I was working for an Australian firm. I was general manager and then president of the North American division. I got moved to Los Angeles and had offices in Denver, New Jersey, and Western Canada. I was a walking boarding pass, and I had all the outside trappings of success, the title and the salary and the apartment and the Mercedes. But inside I was dying. I wasn't exercising. I was eating too much. I was drinking too much. I was single. I was working 78 hours a week. So when they transferred me to Boston, they had a New York Stock Exchange company there, and they transferred me to Boston to help them. I'd done a good job with everything. I was really good at my job. And the good news was I didn't have to travel. There were enough problems in town. So I got an apartment there, and I moved there, and I got a scale. I hadn't had a scale in a while. And I'm an athlete, but I hadn't had a pair of sneakers on in about 5 years. I couldn't get my top button done, but my tie and my belt wouldn't go, but I wasn't giving in, But when I had a scale and I looked at it and I looked up in the mirror, I said, holy mackerel. I said, you got to make some changes. You're not going to be around very long. I just was not healthy.
Yeah.
So I did. I started running again. I went on a diet. I ended up leaving that job. I applied for a PhD program in economics. I said, I got to find more meaning in my life. I'm good at business, but I'm not finding a purpose here. I'm not finding, fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And I stumbled on yoga. Was my first entry into mindfulness. This was back, 1990 or something. There weren't yoga studios all over the place, and it wasn't in Time magazine, and all those things. It was really different. So I tried it, had immediate results, and then my older brother, was kind of estranged from the family. He and my dad, he was a poet. He still is a poet. And my dad was a football coach. And they were like oil and water.
Uh-huh.
We wanted him to play football. No, I don't want it. Where are you going to play? Get your haircut. I don't want to come here. You get your haircut. And so he hadn't come around in years. And anyway, my brother started meditating, and I watched him come back to the family and open up to my dad. And my dad opened up. My dad didn't change. He's in his 70s, and but the first time I saw one person change and the whole world change, just his perception and his mindset changed, and it changed everything. He asked me if I wanted to try it. He sent me some books and gave me some practice, and I tried it, and I had immediate results. So I took it on. I had a little yoga practice. I had a meditation to it, and but for years I didn't come out. I was a closet meditator. I didn't. I didn't.
And yeah, I love that one.
No, I didn't talk about it. I just did it, and after years and years, I got through my PhD program and went back in my own business as a developer and started that. And then, was really busy and started having children and all that. And then years later, kind of one at a time. People started asking me what I was doing and noticed a change in me. And I'd give them some hints or a book to read or something. And then we started a seed group at work, which was just a meeting once a month to talk about a book. It was voluntary. And, we do some centering. We didn't call it, meditation. Before I knew it, the room was full. Then we brought in mindful-based stress reduction, 8-week program at work, and the management committee got together and changed the vision statement to mindfully creating community. And it was just a game changer. People put their families first, and we're doing nonprofit work and being more mindful and making a difference. And a few years later, I started a nonprofit called Living in the Gap and trained other professionals in similar things. And then I wrote a book, Profit with Presence, that you were kind enough to tell the audience about. But it was kind of a sequence, but my experience was, I could be monetarily successful in business, but it just didn't bring me fulfillment and satisfaction. I was just really stressed, and not healthy. And adding mindfulness and these other practices to it let me do both. It didn't hinder my business success. It made me more successful. And it actually made me more successful in my family too. Anyway, I'm just here to tell you about it, I guess. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's fantastic. So I'm going to get back to a quote. And I'm sorry, I've written a lot of notes. So if I'm like, it's because I have a lot to talk to you about. All right. So real quick, you said with yoga and with meditation, you had immediate results. Like, what does that mean? What were those immediate?
Well, I just noticed a difference right away. I was less stressed. I was more present. With yoga, I just become disconnected from my body. Ken Robinson says, your body's just taking your head from meeting to meeting. It was just like, I got back into my body, and it let me get out of my thinking mind all the time. And that was huge. And it also allowed me to retake up sports, which I love. I was an athlete and I'd gotten away from them. So back in, and it just helped me with golf and skiing and all the things that I love to do. Well, and meditation, I would say it was just like an immediate, wow. For me, it was just like, that's silence. Wow. And it took a while. I'm not saying I was immediately, a great meditator or anything. It's just, it takes a while, but it was just, I noticed a difference. So I said, wow, I like this. I like how it feels.
Wow. Yeah, I get you 100%. I truly believe in mindfulness and mind power. Pretty much everything that you have in all of your podcasts, your website, like I truly believe in that. But I struggled for a while, like finding it again. And for some reason, again, like for you, I was overweight. I'm still trying to get that off. I had no energy. I could not center my mind, my body, and my spirit, right? Mm-hmm. So I struggled with that tremendously. Yeah. And then I started going to yoga again twice a week in the mornings. And it's early. It's 6:00 in the morning for me, but I literally rip my covers off at 5:20 and I am ready to go. And this is after 5 classes. It really has helped me center myself, help me connect my mind, body, and spirit. So I can clearly see my vision, but it started with yoga. And so that's interesting to me.
Things can be easier if they're physical in your body, and not everybody's that way. Some people are much more mental, but I think because it's physical, it was easier for me because I related to things that way. So.
Yeah. So with 30 years of yoga and meditation experience, how do you practice these in your daily routine?
Well, I would first say that consistency is more important than the length of the sessions. As much as you can do it daily, and if you miss a day, don't judge yourself and beat yourself up about it. But as much as you can do it daily, it makes a bigger difference. We start people in our program with 2 minutes of meditation.
Okay.
3 gratitudes, 2 minutes of meditation, maybe 5 or 10 minutes of mindful movement. I try not to even call it yoga because that freaks some people out too. Just get in your body, move and stretch, but put your attention into your body. So I do it every day. I don't miss a day. Now, some days I do what's, like a 6-minute. There's a book called The Miracle Morning that, has a 6-minute routine, just a minute of meditation, a minute of yoga, read 2 pages, but it puts you in the intention of being mindful that day, of being in your body and being mindful. And if you've had some longer sessions, then you can draw on that bank, that reservoir. But it's so much more important to do something than to do nothing, which is the old, the heck with it. The heck with it today. That just sets you back and doesn't put you in tension. So I think a key is to try to do something every day, but only a couple of minutes.
Okay.
And the other thing is, there's some other little things to do during the day, like just a mindful walk at lunch. Set your phone down and just walk around the building before you go back and get started. We're divorced from nature, most of us. And to get back in, if we spent more time in nature and outside, we might need this a little less. But in our busy professional world that we live in, these formal practices can be really helpful. So a little something every day, I say, and I also think reading is important. Audiobook or reading, a few pages from a book that is our brain is seeded, with all these things from society is put in there. I say we gotta clear that out with meditation, and I want to reseed it. I want to replant it with what I want. Gratitude, an affirmation of some sort. A book that is, what do I want the thoughts, these random thoughts that come up some 6,000 of them a day? I want to plant some seeds so I hear some good positive things, not just what's on the news and the media and social media and all that stuff, It's just coming at us, barraging us.
Wow. Yeah, there's so much that bombards us. And, I'm in marketing, so, that's my job is to bombard people. But
we're good at it. We're good at it.
I'm good at it.
I don't want to be bombarded. You got to claim your attention back. You're the only one that can say, no, I'm going to take a few minutes without my phone, or I'm going to take my social media app off my phone and have to look at it on my computer. You got to draw some lines to say, hey, I'm not going to be just drawn in at every, I went back and bought an old style watch. My phone, everything was on this. But I found, look what time it was. And before I knew it, I was down a rabbit hole, because I just want to know what time it was. But, and there's this, I'll go in this, blah, blah, blah. I'm 5 minutes later, I'm waking up going, so you got to pay some attention and draw some boundaries for yourself on what's okay and what's not okay.
Yeah. See, I try to avoid that. I try to create a bubble around me so that I can avoid that negative energy, right? And just really try to focus on the positive energy, because there's so much negative around us that it's so easy to get sucked into, it's just so easy. So there's a video on your YouTube page. You say, you can make a bigger difference by being successful if you are willing to serve and help other people along the way. The affluence will increase your influence in making society a better place.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, it comes from, I got stuck for a lot of years. I was reading these Eastern texts and yoga and meditation. Most of it comes from the Eastern and the text. So Little Ram said, you got to renounce all your possessions, and you got to go sit in a hill in India for, 2 months. And I just wasn't willing to do all that. And I didn't know, I was stuck for years with that, just going, oh man, I guess I did. And then I came across some other work, said, yeah, that's for some, those are renunciants, but there's also householders, that have responsibilities and businesses. And then I met a guy that I teach with, that taught with at CSU, Colorado State for 10 years, Larry Kendall, that was just introduced a whole nother bunch of work, like The Science of Getting Rich and Go-Givers, and other books where, no, there's another way. There's another way. We live in a capitalist society. It has to be okay to make money. You can't say we're going to live in this society, but you're a bad person if you make money. That just is inconsistent. And I also don't think it's truth. It's not truth for me anyway. And then I found, no, you know what? If I'm willing to give back and serve my time and willing to give to worthy causes, that's what makes capitalism work. I'm an economist, capitalism won't work. It'll destroy itself if everybody just ends up with a few people with all the marbles. Capitalism will destroy itself. The only way it'll work is if we give back where we can. Sometimes that might be time, sometimes that might be money, but serve where you can. And then it does a couple of things. One, for your own mindset. I mean, the science on gratitude and giving is irrefutable. It changes your whole mindset and your whole view of the world. So it helps you, it helps you because it puts you in a better mindset when you're just thinking of yourself all the time. There's also something that happens that I call in the book, I won't go into this really deep, but I call it the procession effect. When I go in and I work with another leader towards helping somebody else in a habitat project or a food bank project or at the university, I get to know them and they get to know me on the whole level. We get to know who we really are. And when they need something, they just ask you. I've been in these meetings and people say, hey, we like what you've done. We like you. We like what you do. Sure, I'll come look at it. I mean, it just happens. You don't go in for that reason. You go in to help people.
Yeah.
You go in to make a difference.
Yeah.
What you do, the world works at 90-degree angles. You set your karma. It's cause and effect.
Yeah.
You go in and you help it. And then other people say, you know what, I'd like to work with it. I like to work with somebody that makes a difference. I like to they just do it.
Uh-huh.
So, so I say your affluence increases your influence. If you're going for a good cause and you can write a check, you're going to make a bigger difference. You have some worldly power.
Yep.
How are you going to use it?
Yes. How are you going to use it? So recently, somebody posted in a group that they were looking for marketing. They had an event coming up. It was a live event, but she had no budget, right? So I messaged her and I started talking with her, and she had like $200. And she had like 5 people registered for her online event. It was for autism. It was great, great purpose, what she's doing. And I was talking to her. I'm like, you keep your $200 here. Let me just give you some advice. Let's take it from the beginning and see what you are doing and what I can help you do. And, my team's like, you're wasting time. I mean, not all my team, but they're like, how is this helping us? And my mindset is it's not about me. It's about this woman who needs help filling the seats for this amazing thing that she's doing. She ultimately ended up selling so many tickets based off of the information I gave her that she is now able to start her nonprofit, and hundreds of lives were changed during that time. That to me was the best thing I could do because it felt right. And I know that kindness will come back to me, that love, that, the wanting to help somebody, it will come back to me. I'm not looking for it. I just know it will. I believe it will, because I believe that the kindness, it's full circle, right?
Yes.
And so what you said made me think of that story, and truly it just felt good giving.
It's mirror neurons. When you give, people feel like giving back. It's mirror neurons, but somebody's got to start it. You go around and do some good things. You start hanging around givers, and more things happen. Do you want to hang around givers or takers?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather hang around givers, people that make me feel bigger than not the people that make me feel smaller.
Yeah. You put the right people in the right seats of the bus and have the right driver. You have to create a tribe of individuals who you lift up, and in return, they lift you up, and they really increase the vibrational energy where your tribe, you're there to help them and they're there to help you. It's no longer about what can you do for me. Now it's about what I can do for you. And that builds a tribe that you can depend on always. So I believe that that's a wonderful way to make things happen. So how do you take mindfulness and bring it into a business who's never experienced this before, who may be a little hesitant? Like, how do you go into a business and change that mindset of the upper management as well as the employees? Like, what's your secret sauce?
Well, it has to start with one person. I mean, first of all, it's got to start with yourself, right? Okay. You have to start with yourself, and then it just starts with a person. And then a second, and and I also tell people when they get started, I usually have people that just come and get started, and they say, keep it to yourself for a while. Like I say, don't come out for a while because the world is still more skeptical than not skeptical, and then once you feel secure in your practice, like you couldn't knock me off this stuff if you wanted to. I've just seen too many results for too long. Then you can start, then you see someone else that might be more open to it and you share it. I talk in the chapter in the book on the mindful corporation of this, and maybe it's not a meditation program to start. Maybe it's something else. It's more a company-wide program that is more workshop-oriented. That isn't, because everyone's not going to meditate. It's not even the goal. The goal is to have a more mindful outset. More mindful mindset, and to accomplish some more things. So people that meditate, great, but everyone doesn't have to. I mean, I give it up because I tried it. I wanted everybody to meditate. I just realized after a while they didn't. And then I said, well, it's okay. Look what they're doing. Don't know, just look what they're not doing. We got our back room here full with coats and boots going to every elementary school in town. We found a retail partner that helps sell it to us really cheap. We raise a little money and it's going, and people are just excited to go out and giving and doing things. So notice what people are doing, and give them options. Now, on a company-wide basis too, give them some time to do it, support it, give them some resources to do it, see what happens. Number one thing is you need to start at the top, and that person's got to be doing the work. It isn't like, oh, those people should be doing this. It's got to be, no, I'm doing it. If you want to try it, here's some resources, here's a place, but the top has to buy in to have a chance at it.
Okay. Yes, I agree. My thought process is obviously every employee is different. So you have to understand the employee's needs and how to meet those needs while still giving them the opportunity to have some sort of mindfulness practice, right?
We have a half-hour yoga session here every week, and it's voluntary. Some weeks it's 2 people, some people it's 10, some weeks it's 10, but it's voluntary, but it's a place, that people can plug in and go do it if they want to. It's a resource, and we don't worry about the half an hour because people are so inefficient generally.
Yeah. Have you seen an increase in productivity due to the mindfulness programs that you bring to your businesses?
Oh, yeah, I notice it in meetings, you're just more focused. You don't have your computer open and your phone open and everything else at the meeting, you just don't allow that. If you got to do that stuff, go do it. We're going to meet. We're going to talk on this subject. Awesome. If you got to take a call, go take it. We're going to meet on this subject,
Yeah. So everybody, you need to check out his podcast because it's really, really interesting. It's Living in the Gap. You can find it on YouTube. At least that's where I found it. So I would suggest you go in and listen to some of this stuff because it just makes sense. Like you're talking to everyone and anyone. It's not like above our head, right? It truly makes sense. And I think that there's a lot to learn from what he's saying. So I strongly suggest you go check out at least his YouTube. And, I don't typically do this because I try to just, give everybody equal, but this man knows what he's talking about. So I understand needing clarity. So I don't think a lot of people understand what that means. So what do you need to do to find clarity? And what does that mean for business owners, employees, entrepreneurs? What is that clarity?
Well, it requires some sort of practice. Like anything worthwhile, if somebody learn a musical instrument or athletics or authoring or painting, anything, it requires some practice. So it's some sort of mindfulness practice because that's what mindfulness is to begin with. I'm going to say this. It's 2 things primarily. One is, so mindfulness, if you start doing this, kind of letting things go and noticing that there's some separation between thoughts and who we really are. I'm not my thoughts. I have thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. But thoughts are where stress and anxiety reside. It's not what happens to us, it's what we think about it. It's how we stress about things we can't do anything about. If we can do something about it, do it. If we can't do something about it, accept it. But then work on, some separation of my presence or consciousness between that and thoughts. I mean, the mind runs the show, right? And the mind is consciousness. So something there. And then the other element, let's say there before I leave it is, if you're willing to meditate, meditation's a great path. It could be nature, could be something else, but the most direct thing I found in a busy professional world is meditation, but everybody's not willing to do it. And if you're not, find something else that is, that clears out your mind and makes you present. The next thing I would say is purpose. Purpose helps gives us clarity, helps us set priorities. I got this really teaching at the university for 20 years, mostly the seniors, and they'd come in and I'd say, why are you here? And they go, I don't know. Mom and dad said if it was engineering or business, they'd pay for it. And I go, well, next is you get out of here, it's job and then relationship and it's, it's a house and a mortgage and kids and you wake up and you're 50. So I'd give a little thought to what you want to do, because mom and dad got you here, but it's okay to go do what you want to do. What do you want to do? And spend a little time figuring that out. When I got that from that, and then I started running my programs and whatnot, I just see so many people, successful people, don't have that purpose. Or we look and say, why aren't they motivated? Why aren't I motivated? Or why can't I get people motivated? In fact, have you seen the purpose? Have people started looking at why they get up in the morning? What are they here for? What are they on the earth for?
What is their why?
Spend a little time, make it up if you need to, but find something that motivates you. Then you start bouncing out of the bed versus, dragging yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
You start wanting to get up in the morning and get going. And I also say leaders are born of purpose. I don't believe that leaders are just leaders. Give me a subject and I'll lead you.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders are born from purpose. People you wouldn't think were a leader at all, when they really get engaged in something, they want to make a difference, they just step forward and they take it on. They say, no, this is important. We got to do this.
Yep.
So, clear it out and then filling it with purpose is huge. Gives clarity.
There you go. I find when I meditate, and I am overwhelmed or, having those 6,000 thoughts, and I'm trying to, go back to, to say either one word or following my breath, I ask, I'm like, source consciousness, help me find my clarity. What is it I need to know right now? And then if you just sit there, you keep practicing, it doesn't happen. It may happen day 1. It may happen day 100, but you get that answer. Like somehow, whether, believe it's God or it's source energy or it's, the moon, you get that answer. And that's what I love about meditation is really you can, if you just sit there and listen, you get your answers, right? Like that's, and then again, it takes practice. Like I started with, 2 minutes a day, then 5 minutes. And then, I'm trying to get, up to like 30, 40 minutes, but, time, right?
My practice has gone on a long time. My standard practice is 20 minutes. I don't on a weekend or a long retreat, I'll do something more, but we're busy people, If I get a chance to do something, usually I do a second session, but it's more like, more mindful activity than it is meditation, like a nice walk, mindful walk, or I like cold plunging or some other stuff that make me focused,
So you say mindful walk. And maybe people who are learning or new to this, they're thinking, I'm going on a walk. How do I be mindful? Right?
Just walk. Hey, what's going on? Oh yeah, blah, blah. You're not even there. So leave your phone behind and just pay attention to the surroundings. Just pay attention to the wind blowing up in the upper trees and the leaves. And in most places, there's some trees up if you look up, and get in to try not to get run over. But pay attention. Or if you go with somebody, pay attention to them. Pay attention to what you're doing. Just leave things behind. Again, start short. Start 5 minutes, 10 minutes, of just paying attention to what you're doing. When and if you're washing the dishes, you just really wash the dishes. Don't wash the dishes while I'm watching the news or, having the family conversation or whatever. We can do a lot. We can multitask, but we can't pay attention to more than 1 or 2 things at a time. We can do them, but we can't pay attention to them. It's automatic. It's, it's not qualitative.
Okay.
So if you want quality, drop everything else and pay attention to what you're doing. So a mindful walk would say, walk. Pay attention to it. I would say make it shorter and make it sweet. Make it, that's what I'm doing.
Love it, love it, love it. So let's talk about your book. In your Wall Street Journal bestseller, A Profit with Presence, you outline the 12 pillars for mindful leadership. You mind either sharing some of those pillars with us?
I'll share like the first 3 are foundational.
Okay.
And the rest are more or less mindset, different things of mindset once you get into the foundation. Okay. But be present and practice mindfulness. Pillar 1, it takes a practice. It takes some time to clear out. However old you are, you took this long to get here and to get like this. So it's going to take a little bit of a process to shift and notice what's going on.
Yeah.
And to have some other things surface. Then it's, find your purpose in life. It's pillar 2. What is my purpose? And I follow Eckhart Tolle and with an inner purpose and an outer purpose. The first purpose when you're getting started is just to wake up and notice that you're conscious and notice you're present, notice you're in a body. And then when you get further along, your outer purposes are what you do, your roles, your job, your parenting, those are there. But if you can show up present to what you do, you show up in a very, very convincing way. If you're not there with what you do, if you're just there in body only, blow you over. But if I show up present, I make a difference. So finding out that I'm present and finding out what I want to do, what I'm here to do, it's my duty, I can show up with presence. Third is create clarity, vision, intention, commitment, and habits. That's a mouthful. Clarity is pillar 1 and 2. Once we get clear and clear things out, I just find that society has set our vision for us. It's mostly build things and consume things.
Mm-hmm.
How much can we build and how much can we consume? And I love it all, but it's not a purpose. Profit's not a purpose, and neither are things. I mean, what is my purpose? And then vision is what really makes a difference. Where am I present? What do I want to do? So many people I find it's things they think they want. But when they really get into this work, they go, what it is? It's relationships. It's quality. It's intimacy. It's relationships. It's qualitative experiences. So if a house can help give you that, then the house is on the list. But if just a bigger house, it's not really a vision. It's just another house.
Yeah.
So what's on that? What's my vision? Intention moves the world. All my senses of my thing, what I intend to do moves. Mm-hmm. And if I can't get clear with intention, then I send myself conflicting signals. But if I can get on the same page with what my vision is and what my intention is, that's great. And then commitment and habits work hand in glove together. So okay. I have these commitments and then I have these habits. So if I have a lifetime of habits and new commitments and they don't match, then it's hard to keep my commitments. If you want to make a commitment you're not going to make one that's just totally different than your habits. Because you are your habits. Okay. You're 95% habit driven. So what we have to do is we have to take some time. This is not like by next Tuesday usually. I've got to shed some old habits that weren't serving me. And I've got to create habits that are consistent with my commitments. Okay. Like a morning routine, that lets me show up with the mindset every day. So if I have commitments and habits that match, then, I get sick, I go on vacation, the tsunami hits or the COVID or whatever, and I fall off the habits a little bit, my commitment gets me back on. Or if something happens, I lose my commitment or, my habits keep me there. But if I can keep those both together, they support each other. But so many times we make commitments like, here's my eating habits, but my commitments to lose weight. Well, they don't match. Okay. I need the exercise habit, not the Netflix habit. I got to have something else. I got to change those. So you want to really pay some attention to commitment and habits. But habits that's who we are. We show up. We're a bundle of habits. But you can train yourself to have the habits that are the person that you want to be to support your vision. Then you got something that'll work. But it isn't, like I say, it's probably not going to happen by next Tuesday. Okay. It takes some time to set it up and establish ourselves. And, our leadership program's 9 months. And I say mindfulness habits usually give a year or two, because they're countercultural. Some habits might be 21 days, but habits that are countercultural, that are, I think they take longer to ingrain. Mm-hmm. So I start small, be consistent, get a support group. They can change your whole life. They sure have changed mine.
Well, the best thing is in the world are worth the wait. Okay, his book is Profit with Presence, the 12 Pillars of Mindful Leadership. You can find it on his website, which is livingthegap.com. Is that right?
Livinginthe.gap.
Livinginthe.gap.com. Okay, and I'll make sure all of this stuff is in the show notes. I asked everybody this question and so many amazing responses. Who do you think is the most innovative entrepreneur or individual who has touched or changed your life in a way? I
would say there's a guy, a real estate guy, started the company called The Group in Fort Collins years ago. And I met him. I was running the real estate thing at CSU. I brought him in to teach for us and I got to meet him. And then we ended up teaching together for about 10 years. And he then transformed. He left his real estate company. He didn't leave it, but he started another company called Ninja Selling, which showed people how to sell in real estate using gratitude and affirmation, different systems, and it wasn't mindful. He wouldn't call it mindfulness or meditation, but it was these basic principles. And he just introduced me to a ton of other work about how this work, like the Go Giver and Slight Edge, and a lot of these things that I reference in my book, how you can do these things in business and make yourself more successful. So Larry Kendall, I'd say, he's very entrepreneurial. I saw him recreating himself again. He built the biggest real estate firm in Northern Colorado, and then left and he does a nationwide program called Ninja Selling. He's 77 or 8 now. He's still going, very entrepreneurial, and made a huge difference in my life. He really showed me how I didn't just have to do these things early in the morning or late at night, but to really incorporate these teachings all day long and make a huge difference. Not just yourself, you make a difference for people. Mm-hmm. You can change lives at work.
Change lives. I love it. Dr. Eric, you have been such a pleasure. I mean, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but I'm sure you have other things to do. Again, you can get his book. It's either on his website or on Amazon. I know I downloaded it on Audible, which makes me happy because I don't have time to read. So I listen to books as I'm cleaning and playing, when I need to not be present. How's that, Dr. Eric? It just helps me hear it. So I'm very excited to listen to it. And again, thank you for joining us. And I hope that we get to have another conversation in the near future.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Wow. What a great episode. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you want more of this goodness, make sure you subscribe so that you get notifications for future podcasts. And if you found value from this, please share it with others. You can visit our website at cwgdigital.com. This is Erica Bailey. I am your host, and I will see you next time.